in the Middle East, Central Command firing more self-defense strikes at Iran. New video showing U.S. forces disabling an oil tanker as it attempted to violate the blockade on Iranian ports. It comes as negotiations with Tehran continue. President Trump saying this.
The people we're dealing with, we know they're the people that are leading the country right now.
Is it the gay Ayatollah?
He's involved, absolutely.
Would you like to meet him or meet any of the Iranians in person?
We probably will meet at some point, depending on how it all works out.
Jeff Paul has the latest for us from Dubai. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Jackie, and yeah, those overnight strikes that happened here in the Gulf, by far one of the most severe escalations that we have seen in the region in several weeks. Kuwait once again coming under fire for a third time in about a week's time from both Iranian ballistic missiles and drones that seemingly were aimed at the country's airport and other civilian infrastructure. Now, according to Kuwaiti officials, at least one person was killed and 63 others were injured. Damage from that barrage of drones and missiles forced officials to close down one of the airport's terminals, but have since reopened it. The attack coming hours after Iran and the U.S. exchanged back-and-forth missile strikes. CENTCOM said it fired on and disabled an oil tanker that was trying to sail towards an Iranian port. Shortly after, U.S. military officials confirmed its forces downed multiple Iranian ballistic missiles and drones launched towards both Kuwait and Bahrain. Iranian state media reports that Iran was simply targeting American military bases throughout the region. And here's what one resident in Tehran had to say when reacting to the overnight strikes.
It is obvious that in such circumstances, when a major war has taken place, such incidents will occur. Now, whether these small incidents will lead to a full-scale, all-sided confrontation is something that no one really knows.
Now, all of this happening, of course, as we wait for any sort of developments surrounding a potential deal that is struck between the U.S. and Iran. But this recent escalation here in the region obviously complicating those matters at the time. Jackie?
All right, Jeff Paul for us in Dubai. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, Jackie, over here on the maps, we'll show you the board here, what happened overnight that Jeff was describing there. That oil vessel was headed toward this small island called Karg Island that was disabled by the U.S. Navy. So once that was taken out, the Iranians then responded. They hit the airport in Kuwait, and they also fired missiles at Bahrain as well. They fired other missiles and other drones, but those were knocked out by the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Air Force in the area. And then you've got this island of Keshem here, which is located right there in that throat area of the Strait of Hormuz. Keshem Island was then hit, had some sort of military communication center there that was hit by the U.S. military, so that was taken out. Just remember that what the Iranians want is any vessel that comes through the Strait of Hormuz to pass in between these islands so that it can charge a toll. All right, what the U.S. has said for some time is that the actual path is much lower here around the tip of Oman. So that's where we are right now in the Strait of Hormuz. But don't sleep on this story, all right? This is the Middle East. This is the border between Israel and Lebanon and the battle between the Israelis and Hezbollah. These are all the hits that Hezbollah has claimed in Israel going back May 31st to June 1. You can see that all around this border here with Israel. Israel's responded in kind. That's become a major tension point as well. I want to bring in one of our guests right now to tell us about what's happening here in Strait of Hormuz. Brent Sadler is back, former Navy captain. Sir, thanks for coming back, and good morning to you. Jack Keane 2 days ago said, Bill, forget about it. There is no ceasefire. Now, CENTCOM is saying that the ceasefire is holding. How do you see it? How tenuous is it, sir?
Yeah, I look at this through the lens of the military operations at the very beginning. And clearly, when you use that as your comparison, there's a ceasefire that's holding because we're not launching massive strikes across the breadth of Iran. It's much more responsive. It's much more focused. There could be more, of course, to take any leverage the regime thinks they have over the straits by going after their shore missile batteries, their sensors, like you saw on Keshem Island you were detailing, and, of course, going after these small boats to make clear that the Iranians have no leverage, no control over the straits to get that shipping flowing again.
Brent, what do you make of this report from the Institute for the Study of War? This is what they write. Iran is likely using the Lebanon issue to deflect attention from these core disputes and to protract discussions about a ceasefire in Lebanon, which buys Iran time to preserve its sources of leverage, such as its nuclear program and control over the Strait of Hormuz. Are they slow-walking this?
Yes, that I think is very true. It's also why they are attacking Kuwait and also Bahrain. Add more things into the mix as points to negotiate away with giving really nothing while they're trying to protect their nuclear program and prolong the negotiations. What can't be allowed to happen is to try to bring in or a lifeline to Hezbollah to allow the regime in Tehran to be appearances that they are supporting their proxies. That wedge needs to be driven harder and more strongly to show that the Iranian regime is feckless and unable to support any of these proxies if we have any chance of keeping them from resurrecting violence again in the future, say from the Houthis to Hezbollah to Hamas.
Okay. Talk about Israel and Hezbollah now. The president was asked about it in Miranda Vine's interview. There's been a lot of reporting this week that he was quite heated with Benjamin Netanyahu. He didn't deny it, not specifics, but did not deny it. Here's how that went.
I wouldn't say angry. I was a little bit perturbed at his constantly fighting with Lebanon. You know, at some point I said, Bibi, we got to stop this. We got to stop it.
Okay, so from Netanyahu's perspective, if the Israeli people are getting bombed, he's going to respond. How much more complicated does it make it now, knowing that this Iranian proxy still has a vote in this fight?
I think the key thing for the negotiation is to keep Lebanon as a separate issue and not allow the Iranians to conflate it with what's going on in the Straits of Hormuz and over in their airspace right now. And the key thing on this to point out is that Israel and the United States both share a long-term strategic objective, and that is Hezbollah honoring agreements made to disarm and to become a normally functioning political party within Lebanon, and that only the national military, the national government, would have the decision on how they employ the military. Hezbollah is acting as a wholly independent proxy of Iran and bringing Lebanon into fights that the people there don't want. That's the objective that serves both Israel and the United States national security interests now and into the long term. The heated phone call, not knowing the specifics, I think this gets more into negotiating tactics more than anything else.
All right. Hopefully we'll hear more from Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the Hill this morning. Brent Sadler, thank you.
Thank you for coming
Thank you.
back. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.